Welcome to Better Health Guy Blogcasts, empowering your better health. And now, here's Scott, your Better Health Guy. The content of this show is for informational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any illness or medical condition. Nothing in today's discussion is meant to serve as medical advice or as information to facilitate self-treatment. As always, please discuss any potential health-related decisions with your own personal medical authority.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode number 108 of the Better Health Guy blogcast series. Today's guest is Stephen Davis, and the topic of the show is FREmedica WAVE1. Stephen Davis is a serial entrepreneur, venture capitalist, seasoned inventor, and healthcare pioneer with over 35 years in the global business economy. Stephen has a deep passion for mission-driven companies and organizations that seek to promote social good and greater access for all. As an inventor, Davis's contributions span a diverse range of sectors, including media, oil and gas, consumer, and health and wellness. As a celebrated educator and mentor, he offers sound guidance, vision, and direction, including patent processing, product development, venture funding, workforce acquisition, distribution, and scaling strategy for a variety of budding creators and upstarts. As a global agriculture innovator with ties in Canada, the United States, and Israel, Davis is an investor and manufacturer of an advanced closed-loop system, the Nomad 2.0 and 5.0, that aid in the optimal extraction of cannabis oil. His efforts also extend to the health and maintenance of the plant as he is continually researching and developing new technologies to increase overall vitality. As an entrepreneur, Davis has co-founded and captained numerous private and publicly traded companies, charitable organizations, and global distribution outfits, maintaining board membership for several, including Waveforce Electronics Incorporated, FREmedica Technologies Incorporated, Venture Development Canucks Incorporated, and Funding for Life Society. As a health and wellness pioneer, Davis co-developed WAVE1, a wearable frequency emitter designed to manage chronic Lyme and its associated symptoms. Having witnessed its debilitating effects on his daughter and grandsons, Davis sought a solution. Introduced to the technology by Stuart Gross, WAVE1 has now staved off the symptoms of Lyme for both his family and hundreds of patients around the globe. And now my interview with Stephen Davis. I met Stephen Davis as a result of a friend that had experience with the WaveForce 1 device in 2017. At that point, Stephen and Stuart Gross came to several of the Lyme disease support group meetings that I facilitate in Northern California. And having a strong interest personally in light and sound, frequency, and vibrational therapies, I was immediately interested in learning more about their technology. In late 2017, Stephen asked me to become part of the advisory team at FREmedica, and I've continued to be in communication with them regularly since that time, and the product continues to evolve. For full disclosure for this podcast, I am both an advisor and an affiliate of FREmedica, but for purposes of our discussion today, I'm a podcaster asking questions of a guest. Thanks so much for being here today, Stephen.
Hey, thanks, Scott. Thanks for having me to join in.
Thanks. So let's start with how you got here. What was your family's experience, your daughter, your grandchildren? What was their experience with Lyme disease? How did you find the technology that today we call the WAVE1, and how did it ultimately help them?
Well, my kids, my daughter was sick for 12 years. And the first 8 years, we chased everything, like trying to find what was wrong with her. In that time, she had 2 sons. And both of her sons were born with health issues. And we just accepted that as a family. When my one grandson was diagnosed to be autistic at 3.5, we just accepted those answers from the doctors, and we moved forward in life. But my daughter was still sick and still unknown what her diagnosis was. But 8 years into it, a doctor I got to know at the University of Victoria ran some tests for me. And she came back and said, I found a couple markers that would lead her to think that she had Lyme disease. And my response was, what's Lyme disease? It was not even on our radar. It was never brought up by a doctor during that whole 8-year period. And so we were happy as a family. Now we know what it is. Now we're going to go out and solve it. And so we went out for a couple years. And, we tried everything that everybody else was trying to overcome, with no success. We even tried some things that just weren't on the charts, like nobody really knew about. They were in a very early stage of development, but we still didn't get any results. And so it was very discouraging over that period. So 12 years passes by pretty quickly when you're on the hunt for solutions for a disease, particularly when it involves your kids. Then one day, my other business this wasn't a business of mine. This was something that I was looking for a solution for my kids that weren't well. But my business is a networking company. And so one morning, we threw a breakfast meeting for several CEOs and in Vancouver. And there was two gentlemen that were having a conversation. One said, my friend's got working on a device for overcoming Lyme disease. And I just happened to hear it. And so I went and interrupted the conversation. And I said, it sounds really interesting, but I'd really like to meet your friend. And so that's where I got introduced to Stuart Gross. And Stuart, he's a practitioner who was dealing with a lot of Lyme patients, and he found some things that were working with delivering some certain frequencies over light, using light. But his contraptions were quite big. And so he knew that these people were sick trying to come to see him 30 minutes a day for 3 to 4 weeks. And that's hard for people to be that consistent. And so he made a device that was placed in their home, and they laid in front of this device for that 30 minutes a day for 3 to 4 weeks. And he was starting to get some interesting results. And so that was the story that he came to me with when we met. And so I said, well, why don't we do a little trial? And so we gathered up 12 or 14 people that had chronic Lyme disease, and we put them in a trial where they sat in front of this device at our clinic for 30 minutes a day for 3 weeks. And at the end of those 3 weeks, we got them tested with IGeneX in the beginning. And it confirmed that they were positive with Lyme disease. Then at the end of the trial, we also went and got their blood work again, and we saw some interesting results. Things that were there in the first results weren't there the second time. And so, but my response to Stuart was, and the doctor that was working with us on this trial, was, I really don't care what the results are saying because my kids are still sick. And so whether it's 3 weeks or it doesn't matter, they're still sick. And so don't tell me that they're better now, because that was not reality. And so a gentleman whose wife had Lyme for 25 years, she was in that trial, and he came up to me and he said, look, it's not like an antibiotic that you take when you've got a flu or something, and at the end of the 7 or 14 days you feel better. This is something that has attacked your body. And so even though that it doesn't seem to be active, your body needs time to heal because there's damage that's been done. And this damage, depending on where it is, whether it's in the nervous system, whether it's in a joint, there's different places that it affects you more times than others. And it's something that you just needed to have some time get past for their body to heal. 90 days after, my daughter started feeling fantastic. She wasn't doing anything else besides just that trial that ran for 3 weeks, 30 minutes a day. My grandson, that was ADHD off the charts, he started calming down. He still has ADHD, but when you have ADHD on top of Lyme disease, it's magnified in a profound way. And so he calmed down. My other grandson that was autistic didn't really see any change with him, but he has autism. We weren't trying to say that they fixed autism. It's just that he tested positive for Lyme. So we thought if we dealt with the Lyme, it might be easier for him walking his life out with autism. But over an 18-month period, he just gradually started to change. He never used the device again. but his system started to change. And I'm telling you, today, he's just a normal little 10-year-old. And, we got him back. Does he have autism? I don't know. Does he act like he has autism, have symptoms? No. And so there's a shift. And we don't know what that shift is, except he doesn't appear to be having the same symptoms that he had before our trial, before we used this device. And so I got excited.
And how is your daughter doing today?
My daughter's doing fantastic. The problem with people with Lyme, and I'm using my kids' experience, is when Lyme comes in, it attacks your immune system. And when your immune system gets weakened, it opens the door for other things to come in as well that normally wouldn't be able to have effect because you've got a healthy immune system. But she still has some things that go on that she has to watch what she eats. But none of it is Lyme related. It's celiac. It's other things that may have been triggered because of Lyme. But now you have to, there's some things that you're just going to have to deal with going forward that's not Lyme. She used to be afraid all the time.
And how long has she been well now since using the device?
About 5 years.
Oh, wow. Quite a while.
And so since just for clarity, since she used the device, she has gone back to university, got her teaching degree, has raised 2 sons at that age that were still going through things for the first 18 months particularly. But she just pushed through all kinds of stuff without it being hard.
Do we know how Stuart originally became interested in Lyme disease? Was that kind of the initial intent of the device that he was creating? Did he have a family member with Lyme? Did he just attract a lot of clients with Lyme? How did he get into the Lyme topic area?
Stuart was just, people were coming to him with a problem, and he has a device called an EAV that seems to be extremely accurate when it's picking up different things that are going on in the body, particularly relating to Lyme disease. And so the more people that he saw, the less that he could really truly help unless they came into his clinic. And so he started going down the path of developing this technology at that point.
What are some of the more common symptoms that people report improvement when they use what is now the WAVE1? And what are some of the symptoms that just don't seem to shift consistently in people that are using the device?
Well, that's really a hard place because Lyme attacks everybody and manifests differently in everybody. And so one of the things that we see that people start getting back is their energy. And so the fatigue starts to shift. And so when their energy gets back, that starts to cause different things to affect in a positive way as well. We also see that people start to sleep well. And as they're sleeping, there's good things. If you're getting good night's sleep, that's a benefit for anybody, whether you have Lyme or not. And so those are two big ones. The other are, people, they talk about their migraines going away, their brain fog going away. The pain, that's a little bit harder. When you get Lyme in your joints, it's harder to get rid of. And so sometimes the pain lingers. But over time, you give it enough time, and your body's going to start to heal that as well.
Let's talk a little bit about the evolution of the device. So you've talked that about 5 years ago, there was this version that people would lay down in front of, kind of a tabletop device. How did that then become a wearable device? And I know there's now been kind of 2 major incarnations of the wearable device. So kind of walk us through that evolution of the technology.
It's not so much the evolution of our technology, it's the evolution of LEDs. And so LEDs got more powerful, and so you could do more with them. Stuart's first device had, I think, 64 LEDs in it. Then we reduced that down to 36 LEDs because LEDs were just getting better. And now what we were doing with 36 LEDs, we can do with 2 LEDs. And so it's a technology just in LEDs has allowed us to reduce our technology down to a wearable.
Do you want to, do you have a wearable device there that you can show people what it currently looks like?
I do.
All right.
In fact, I keep them on me all the time. I don't have Lyme. I've never had Lyme, but I get fatigue just like other people. I get overwhelmed with stress and anxiety. And so one of my go-tos, in fact, is stress and anxiety package, because the world comes at you and it's stressful, your environment. But what our technology does is it creates a way where your body's not releasing the chemical reaction to cause the anxiety. So you can just about calmly walk through any stressful situation. And so that's a very good thing for us. But this is the device. It's just it's got some straps that strap that on any part of your body, because it's systemic, what we do. And these two lights that are flashing, those are the main power. And the reason the device is the size it is because you need these two bright LEDs. And so it uses the power. That's why we're only limited by the size of a battery to run our technology. And so once these two red lights, they're only going to run for 30 minutes because that's dealing with the Lyme itself. Then there's another set of lights that come on, which are just these 4 little LEDs that come in, and that's going to run. It looks like there's one burnt out, but that's just an infrared. You just can't see it. But these ones here will run for 8 to 12 hours or until the batteries died, and you're being fed things that are helping the body restore itself.
Let's see if we can kind of give people an understanding of how this device actually works. So how is light and frequency used in the device to help people minimize their symptoms or deal with symptoms of Lyme disease? I think you say live well with the symptoms of Lyme disease. Isn't that how you
That's
kind of
right.
phrase it? So what are the frequencies of, how are they delivered or piggybacked on the light itself? And then on the website, you talk about frequencies using the terms neutralizing, resonant, desensitizing, and reinforcing frequencies. So talk to us a little bit about what that means and how those frequencies are actually delivered to the body through the light.
Okay. Well, we know that when you have, your body has been created to absorb light. So logically to us, that was a good way to deliver it, because we're not looking for one particular spot. We're loading up the cells, so it's systemic. And so your body has been created to receive that light, absorb it. Your cells have been designed to retain that light. And when it retains that light, it retains our frequencies. And that's how we start to come into the body. And we're not coming in to kill something. We're found a way, a track in the body to support your immune system. And you do that by loading up your cells with the frequencies that your immune system are deficient in. And we just happen to know a lot about Lyme disease. If we were going down a path of medical, well, that's it. There's a lot of research that we'd have to go and learn about that. This is about Lyme disease primarily. And that's why our whole system is designed the way it is.
So if we think about the frequencies, can you help people understand what are the frequencies of? Are they herbs? Are they nosodes of different microorganisms? I mean, how are the frequencies actually determined that are then being delivered on the light?
Stuart has a device that helps us identify the frequencies that we need. Once we identify those, then we go out and find that raw material and capture them. And when we capture them, then we convert them to play on this device, on our platform within this device. And we can have frequencies for, like, there's probably everything vibrates in the world. So it's a very interesting approach that we've taken, because it's opening up many other doors for us in different industries as well. But our focus is still on Lyme. This device operates for Lyme disease, and it's got about 47 different frequencies that are loaded on here. If we could test everybody, it would be different. But we can't test everybody. We're taking everybody's word on what they say they've got. They've got Lyme, and they've got their own tests that they've done. And so we've built a package that is pretty generic to everybody that has Lyme disease.
So can I think of the device like listening to music with headphones, but instead of having headphones, I'm hearing it through the light itself.
Right. Well, you're not really hearing it, but your cells are absorbing it. And when they do that, they're taking those frequencies throughout the body and ultimately supporting your immune system. That's the goal.
So it's still essentially, when we talk about frequencies, it's like I'm listening to music, but that music is being introduced into the body using the light rather than using something like headphones.
That's right. It's just another way to deliver, and we think the body is a very effective way to place our frequencies using light.
What are some of the microbial overgrowths that the device might help support the body against? So is it just Lyme and co-infections? Can it potentially be helpful with viruses, bacteria, yeast, and parasites? What is the scope of things that it may help the body in dealing with?
We first deal with the Lyme, and then we've got frequencies on here for all of the co-infections that come with that. Do we know what all the co-infections are? No. But sometimes we get new strains of something like Bartonella is pretty hard to get out of the system. And it's usually, the reason that it's hard for us is we might miss that frequency for that particular strain. But once we understand that and see that, then we add that to the device, and then it applies to everybody who has that particular strain.
I've heard some people ask the question about whether or not this device can be helpful in people that are dealing with mold, they're living in a moldy house. So talk to us a little bit about that. I mean, my perspective is that you still need to fix the source of an exposure to mold, but is there some application of this device in someone with mold illness?
Yes, and we're seeing third-party test results come in that it's touching lots of different of the issues around mold and the different types of mold, which are many. Once you've got a compromised immune system, that mold, it starts to wreak havoc within your system. And your immune system is compromised because of the Lyme. So once you deal with the Lyme, then you can deal with the mold within the body. And we're seeing very good results come back in with that. But there's still the issue about dealing with mold in your home. I mean, you can't live in a moldy environment and expect to live a mold-free life within your body. It's not. I don't think it's going to happen. And so we are working on some things for the home, and we've identified other tools for the home. We are not. This is a tool for the toolbox. It's not something that's just going to overcome everything. But when we identify the right frequencies, then we've got a chance to help overcome some of the health issues that you are experiencing.
So let's talk about how long someone on an average day, how long would they use the device, and what's the duration of a treatment schedule? Would they use it for, you mentioned 3 weeks. It seems that people now oftentimes need to use it longer than 3 weeks. So how long each day, and then what's the kind of calendar duration that we would expect someone potentially to use the device? And would some people use it indefinitely?
Well, I know that I'll just answer the last question first. Once people start receiving a benefit with this, they use it every day. And because whether the Lyme is gone or not, or the symptoms are gone or not, it does have other effects such as sleep, energy, different things that you need to get out of bed in the morning and get on with life. And so people just use it, no different than I use it. We have a number of different packages of frequencies that we first let people start to choose. But we learned, you got to remember, I'm not a doctor. I was a desperate dad that stepped into a business that I didn't know a lot about at the time. And we decided that, you know what, if we can help my family, why not bring this to a place where we can help a lot of other people? I was fortunate that I had my other business. And so I was able to look at this from different eyes. So we go out with the intent to provide hope for people. Do we overcome everything that they have going on in their bodies? Well, probably not at this particular point, but we sure do help. But there's other things.
So one of the questions, if people are using it on an ongoing basis, one of the questions I'm sure that will come up is it possible for some of these organisms that the device might be helping the body to be supported against? Is it possible that over time we build up some tolerance or resistance to the light and the frequencies? Or is that something that you've not seen in the several years now that you've been working with this technology?
Well, I do know that when people use this and those particular symptoms start to subside and go away, they don't come back. And so, but that doesn't say that you may deal with everything to do with Lyme, but you may go to another country and pick up a parasite, or we're not stop preventing life from moving forward and catching different things. That's not what it is. But if you did pick up a parasite, there's a really good chance that you're going to be able to put this device back on and deal with it at a very early stage.
Let's talk about what people experience when they start using the device. Is it something that can create a Herxheimer or detox reaction in some people?
Without question. My poor daughter, I'm telling you, she broke out in boils. And I had to sit and say to her, look at sweetheart, you need to just push through this. You just need to push through. And she did, and she came out the other side. And you just need to look at her today. People are going to herx. And people are going to have a variety of different levels of herxing. Some people can use the device for 30 minutes a day, handle the herxing. Some people, they have to build up to that 30 minutes a day because it depends where you're being affected in the body. It depends on how well you've got drainage with your lymphs. I mean, like you need to be able to get rid of whatever the immune system's causing to die off. You need to be able to remove, you need to get it out of your system. And some people are just really plugged up where that becomes a very uncomfortable experience.
And I know one of the things that's been done with the device over the last couple of years is adding things to help mitigate that with different intensity levels so that it can be a little more uniquely applied to what a person can tolerate, rather than saying, well, you just wear it for 30 minutes a day and kind of push through. My understanding is that they now can set the intensity, which will help them better tolerate it and maybe minimize some of these reactions.
That's right. And I think that part of it is with the LEDs, they got more powerful where you can adjust them where you couldn't in the past. And so we've had to learn through that adjustment with people, because if you leave it on high, then it's going to cause some people to herx more than others.
In this realm of Herxheimer reactions, detox reactions, there was a time a couple of years ago when you actually had a drainage product, drops essentially, that people would use. Those went away, and my understanding is those are now a program on the device. So talk to us about the progression of the detox and drainage support and how the light now is also used to help facilitate supporting the detox process.
Okay. The first device is this one. It was the WAVE One. And this device is not programmable. We put everything on it, and it just ran for 30 minutes a day, and then it shifted to the other 4 lights that would run for the duration of the day. But we couldn't put detox on this because it would run for the duration of the day. And so that was something that we had drops that we would send out to people with this device. But as soon as we went from this device to this device, well, this is programmable. And so now we can set the actual time that a detox program would run. And so it gave us that flexibility, and it allowed us to get rid of the drops and just deal with everything in one package on the device.
So early on, people also kind of had the option or choice of running, let's say, the Lyme frequency package. They could run the detox package. Maybe some people did, maybe some people didn't. So talk to us about the newer protocols, what you've been kind of learning from some of the trials that have been going on, and the research that you've been doing with users in terms of the current protocol incorporating detoxification support as something that they utilize daily before they actually do the Lyme frequencies itself.
Okay, well, what we do is we first gave people an option where they could pick different things based on how they were feeling. And we learned, and primarily I think it was through another doctor that we learned this, by watching him. He would use the device every 30 minutes. He would change it to something else. And we learned that, you can't do that with frequencies. Your body is getting into tune with a particular frequency. We're tuning up your cells. And in order to do that, you need to stick with a program for 2 to 4 weeks in order for your body to be in tune with the package of frequencies that we gave. So we've changed this. We took away the option for people. This is about Lyme disease, not a wellness program if you've got a sleep issue or if you've got headaches. This is about Lyme and all the co-infections that come with it. That's our core piece of business that we do with this device. And so in the first 30 days, we force the action of you using a detox, a stress and anxiety, and an organ relief. So we're going to bring your system into balance. We're not just balance, but we're going to prepare it for a die-off. We're going to make sure that you're starting to get some drainage before the immune system kicks in with any new protocols from within, and you get a die-off. We want to make sure that you're draining the best that you can, and that's why the detox. The stress and anxiety is just allowing your whole system to calm down, because it's on high alert. Like there's stuff going on. And the other is just balancing the organs. It's just balancing your system. And you do that for 30 days. Then we start with the Lyme Basic. Now you're still getting all of those other things. You're still getting the detox and the stress and anxiety, but you're also getting now the frequencies for Lyme itself. And so we're equipping your immune system with a package of frequencies that's going to help in all of those areas. At the end of that 30 days, then we put on Lyme Complete. And the Lyme Complete package, that deals with all of your co-infections, anything that to do with Lyme that's left over, it's going to deal with, and it's going to deal with all the co-infections. And we've added lots of things in there like Epstein-Barr, and there's different things that we're grabbing in that third month. At the end of the third month, you should be feeling pretty good. Your body should be adapting to what we're doing. You may not feel all the benefits from it because it takes a little bit of time. You could stop using the device probably at that point and still get a benefit over time.
You mentioned the detoxification frequency package, Lyme Basic, Lyme Complete. You mentioned earlier that the device is helpful for you personally from a stress and anxiety perspective. So what are some of the other frequency packages or wellness packages that people can use with the device that provide broader support?
Well, I think that the programs that we've put into play for that first 90 days is mandatory. Mm-hmm. At the end of the 90 days, we've got a program that we haven't disclosed yet. We're still working through exactly how that's going to roll out, but we are working with some doctors on what some of these packages would be really good just to create some general wellness for people as they move off of the device for Lyme disease. Because they've got stuff going on that was caused because of a deficient immune system, but it's not Lyme related. But everybody thinks what's going on is Lyme related, but it's not.
So how do people then, is there some application? Let's talk a little bit about the Wave Assistant app, how people then connect their device to their computer. Can they do that with both Mac and PC? And what is that allowing them to do in terms of configuration or settings of the WAVE1?
The only thing that they can really do is they plug in their app, they plug into their device to the app, and that's what launches the device. And so then for the first 30 days, they just need to charge it. They don't need to go back to the app. They just do that. The second 30 days, they have to re-plug in to move it to the second program. And same for the end of the second month. They need to plug it in again to kick it into gear for the third month.
And that's also the same app that they can use then to adjust some of the intensities if they are having a strong response to it, to be able to dial things back a little bit, or essentially to turn down the volume, so to speak.
That's right. That's the only function that they really have. That's the only thing that they've got to control, and that's based on how they feel.
And eventually then they would be able to, in the future, potentially select some of these other things like sleep support or inflammation and pain or stress and anxiety, those kinds of things that maybe once they've gotten the support they needed for Lyme and co-infections that they could use on a more ongoing basis.
That's right. They're going to have lots of options But even when they choose an option, so let's just use this as an example. Let's say they pick something for pain. They need to wear that package for anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks in order to get that effect. Now, what we see is once you've done that, let's say 3 months down the road, you're experiencing some kind of pain. When you plug it in at that point, it's almost like taking a pain pill because your body is in tune with those frequencies, and so it reacts quicker. We're bringing the cells. We always deal with the cells, and so we're bringing those cells back to balance. And so they start operating the way they were designed to operate.
Perfect.
And when that happens, good things happen.
So does the WAVE1 solve all of the problems? And we've talked about this a little bit. I want to just really get to this question. Does the WAVE1 solve all of the problems that someone with Lyme disease might be experiencing, or do they still need to consider things like their diet, good nutrition? We've talked about mold in the environment, maybe some mental, emotional traumas or conflicts or things that they need to work on to really optimize their health. Are there other factors beyond just wearing this device? And what does a user potentially need to do outside of the device to optimize its potential?
They absolutely need to do other things. And we see that very clearly. In some of the trials that we've done, we see the people that are taking extra measure to help with detox, to help with the Herxheimer, to change their diets. We see them doing other things and they get better. If you just rely on the device, we see people overcome everything with the device. They get on with life and everything's good. But it's just a tool to go in your toolbox to help you achieve general health. And in this particular case, it's going to help you overcome Lyme disease in lots of areas because of the way we support the immune system. But there's other things that you can do to enhance the support of immune system as well. And so, yeah, it's not a silver bullet. I wish it was, but it sure got my family back on track. And that's, every time somebody uses it, and we see people, like Yolanda Hadid, for example, she's feeling fantastic. And I've watched her for 5 years, all the things that she's done. And then finally, she just used our device exclusively for 90 days. And the cool thing is she went and got all of her tests done before, and she got all of her tests done after. And she's clear. Those results are extremely profound, but not just profound as far as results. She feels good.
So people will certainly ask, when you say her tests were clear before and after, were those specific lab tests? Was that EAV? How was it determined that she was clear after?
She had tests done through several places like Armin Labs, DNA Connections. She never did the EAV. She did the EAV with Stuart recently, and it confirmed that everything is gone. But it's the third-party results that came back in. Even the results that just came in from Dr. Klinghardt was very, very, very positive.
Beautiful. So let's talk then a little bit about the trials, the feedback. One of the things that excites me about the work that you're doing is, you say the device is not a magic bullet or a silver bullet, but the team is constantly working on trying to close the gap and improve it and support a broader number of issues and people that are dealing with chronic Lyme disease. So it may be that some people today don't get full benefit from it, but that doesn't mean that tomorrow there aren't other things or other frequency packages and things that could help move them forward. So let's talk a little about the trials. That process, I think, has been important in continuing to move the technology forward and maybe close some of those gaps and help more people. So what did you learn from some of these trials? What percentage of users would say they found the technology helpful? And then what are some of the common threads in those people maybe that didn't find it helpful? Are you able to ascertain why they maybe didn't find the device helpful in their unique situation?
Well, I think we've got about a 40% very positive response from people. The other 60% they're mixed. And we have our suspicions on a lot of it. I think that a lot of these people have used up a lot of their financial resources. So they're not at the place in life that they can actually go and use all of the other tools that are out there whether it's just simply changing your diets. I mean, starting to take supplements that might boost your immune system in other areas that you're struggling, like it's expensive. And you only have so many dollars that you can spend in so many areas. But I believe we have a little bit of a debate, me and Stuart, with this. I believe that everybody that uses this device has a very positive response, whether they recognize it in that moment or not. I think if you go 90 days down the road, 120 days down the road, people are going to graduate, no different than my grandson. It took 18 months before all of a sudden he just seems like a normal little kid. And so we don't know, because we can't test all of these people. So we don't know if it's Lyme related or if it's other things that are going on. And they usually don't know either. And so it makes it very difficult to put all your weight on a trial when all you're doing is sending people out the device with a protocol. But I believe that they do get a benefit. It's just that some of the underlying issues that they currently have that probably aren't even Lyme related are still significant issues, and so they don't feel good. Like my daughter, for the last 5 years, she'll get sick. She'll get a cold or whatever's going around. And sometimes she'll phone me up and she'll say, "Dad, I think it's back. I need the light." And it has nothing to do with the light. It has nothing to do with our frequencies, and it has nothing to do with Lyme disease. It's just that she's got that fear that everything is related to Lyme disease.
Well, and coming from someone myself who has dealt with Lyme disease, I know that fear well, where, things start to return or symptoms come back and you immediately think, oh my goodness, this is going to be a repeat. It's kind of a PTSD in a way, right?
That's
Post-traumatic stress disorder that is generally where the mind goes for a while, until you've been well enough that you then start re-engaging and redeveloping a trust in your body's ability to support you and your health. So yeah, it's definitely something I can relate to as well. And I think a lot of times, not even specific to the WAVE1, but a lot of times when people are trying things that are for Lyme and they don't seem to work, the first thing that comes to mind for me is make sure you're not living in, working in, or going to school in a moldy environment. Because if you're getting exposed to something that's going to create an inflammatory reaction in the system on a daily basis, it's going to be really, really hard to move the needle from a Lyme perspective. I mean, it sounds like you've seen similar observations that people do need to consider their environment to optimize the WAVE1's potential.
We do, but reality is, Scott, that it's nice to say to these people, hey, you need to change your environment, but they can't afford to move out of their house and get new furniture and get new clothing because mold is everywhere. And so we've taken it upon ourselves to try and find a solution, even if it's a third-party solution, to help them within their environment. And we've got some things that we've been trialing that are producing extremely good results as far as air quality in a home. Because we know that if you want to get better, we can deal with all your Lyme, but even though that the mold is attacking, I think there's a conference or there was somebody saying, is it mold or is it Lyme? Because of the effects. And so the symptoms are the drivers on that there, and we're trying to help people with their home issues around mold. And as we're not even doing it, we give that stuff away at cost. We're not trying, that's not a piece of our business. We just know that if we want you to feel better, and we know that we can help you get there, but there's some things that are just out of our control.
So you realize just by saying that, you're probably going to get a lot of calls for people asking how they get this mold support device or whatever it is that you're working on. So I'm assuming that's something that more information will be available at some time in the future, and that it's still kind of in an R&D phase. Or tell us a little about that.
Well, there's a manufacturer that makes this device that's 99.9% proven for clearing out mold in the air, all the toxins out of the air. It doesn't get behind the walls. It doesn't deal with the mold itself behind the walls. It can't. But anything on the inside of the room, it can deal with. But it deals with the air, and people are feeling better because of it. We've got a trial going on in a home right now where there's six kids and 2 adults, and they've always got something wrong. So one little girl had warts that they couldn't get rid of. Well, obviously it's tied to the mold, I think. And so anyway, we dealt with it. She used our device. We put the mold frequencies on it, and her warts went away where nothing else was getting them to go away. Her sister had a thing going on with her feet, like athlete's foot, but it wasn't athlete's foot. It was something else, and they weren't able to deal with it. We dealt with that. Another one of the daughters has been, she can't sleep, and she's got anxiety. She's got, she's just not she's got no joy, and she's 12. And so we loaned her a device for sleep, and it deals with the stress and anxiety, and it deals with the mold in the environment because she's got mold in her system, and she is just flourishing. And so we know that there's other things that we can do, but we need to stay focused with what we came to market with, and that's to help people overcome the Lyme disease. And we're doing that.
So those people that you were just speaking about, they're working with the wearable device, but they're also working with some of these other devices that you're talking about that are also helping to improve, maybe not resolve, but improve the environment that they're in as well.
That's right. And what we'll probably do is introduce through our website to everybody the manufacturer of that device. And we've negotiated a cost deal for people with Lyme disease. And so we'll probably end up with some kind of a landing page where they can deal direct with that manufacturer, because it doesn't have anything to do with us. We don't even make an affiliate. We make nothing from it. We're just trying to help.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm excited to learn more about that myself. So stay tuned, everyone. On your website, you mention people on the team, Dave Asprey, you mentioned Yolanda Hadid, you mentioned Dr. Lee Aaron Keneally. How do each of them get involved? What's their role with FREmedica? What's their interest in the technology?
Well, for Dave Asprey, it's pretty clear. He's into all kinds of light technology and frequencies. And he uses natural frequencies coming from those lights, and they pulse them at different wavelengths. And that's what their tech is. And that's what everybody else's tech is as well, that has light beds and all these different technologies.
I just literally, right before this show, spent 20 minutes in front of my red light therapy device as well. So...
And so where Dave got interested is because of the way we deliver frequencies, because we don't care really what the color of the lights are, what those frequencies are. We load up light, and it carries our packages into the body. And so that's our thing. Like Dave gave me one of his products, and we kind of converted it with our tech. So you can add more frequencies to come off the lights that he's using. And so Dave has an interest because of the frequency world and his background. He knows a lot about frequencies. Mm-hmm. And so that's his big thing. And so he's decided to join our company in an advisory role to help us outside of the Lyme environment, and which we really appreciate his knowledge and expertise.
And fortunately, he also knows a lot about the Lyme and the mold environment as well.
That's right, and we've dealt with that. And he's got a product for mold, and so that's another thing that we will introduce. And like I said, anytime we introduce a product like that, we're not taking any kind of spread or money, or we don't do that. We're just passing that through because we're trying to help people overcome Lyme, because it affects their impression of what we're doing for them, because everybody just throws it all into a Lyme basket, and that's just it's not what it is. And so that's with Dave. With Yolanda, it's very obvious with Yolanda. She went out with her book and she said, hey, I'm not going to stop until I find something that is going to help overcome these symptoms of Lyme disease at an affordable cost, because she understands that people just don't have the financial resources like she has to go and travel the world every time something new pops up to try it. And she's got people knocking on her door all the time, try this and try that. And we never even knocked on her door saying, hey, would you try this? Would you try this? Because we know that it can take 90 days or longer for the effect. And so if she's using other things at the same time, nobody's going to know how she got better. And so she committed. She phoned me up a year ago last September, and she was sick. And she said, okay, I'm willing to commit the 90 days. And so we asked her if she would be prepared to get tested before so we could see what she had, use our device for 90 days, and then get retested. And that's exactly what she did. And she came out clear on the other end. But I'll tell you something. Yolanda uses her device, even though she feels fantastic. She uses it every night. She puts that on her leg and goes to bed every night. She never misses a night. And you know how I know? Because we can see.
And I remember a story once. I remember you said you had a meeting with her and she left the device with you accidentally or something, and that it was a really urgent issue to get it back to her. That's
right. And now her kids are using it. And so there's good things that come from this. But with Yolanda, she said, look, let me come and help. And so, because she wants to help put this out. This woman has more compassion and more heart than I've seen from anybody in the industry. I'm telling you, she is on a mission to help people get better. She published a book. She wrote a book about her journey and didn't take a penny. It was just made available for people. That's not the driver for Yolanda. She doesn't take she's not an affiliate. She doesn't take any money from us for if one of her friends phones up and wants to buy a device, or somebody else that she was talking to because of her story. There's none of that. That's just, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. If she wanted to do that, we'd have no problem with that. But that's not where her heart's at. She is a genuine person with full of compassion that wants to help these people that have Lyme disease. I love that about her. Then with Dr. Keneally, the reason that she's joined is one of her patients, a very high-profile individual, struggled with Lyme for years and years and years. And she used our device and got better. And she went to Dr. Keneally, and Dr. Keneally ran all the tests that she normally does. There's no bad bacteria. There's all kinds of good things that she learned. And so she said, look, why don't we try that with some of our other patients? She got the same kind of results. And so now she's a medical doctor. She has a big practice in Orange County. And she primarily is on chronic illness, primarily cancer and Lyme. And she buys and sells to her patients. When you go into her clinic, all of her doctors are wearing a device. And it's just really good to go in there. And they're so nice and so excited because their patients are getting better. Is it just our device? Of course not. She has all kinds. She's a clinic. She's helping these people overcome the Herxstein and overcoming things that the device wasn't even designed to do. And so, but when you start bringing all of that together, you see profound results. The unfortunate part is, to go through all those programs, there's a financial cost to it. And all people are not all equal when it comes to financial resources, unfortunately. And so they don't have that availability. We have never had a return from her. We have never had her phone up and say, hey, patients aren't getting better. Like, we've never had any of that come back.
So talking a little more about the financial aspect of this, I mean, obviously $2,500 is a lot of money for people. One of the things that I valued and appreciated initially about FREmedica is that you do offer a return policy that really minimizes someone's financial risk, and that if they don't see some benefit, they have 90 days to return it. So talk to us a little bit about that, and how common is it that you get returns from devices that people have purchased?
We've had over 2 years. Now, you got to remember, we haven't gone out and made tens of thousands of units because we want to make sure that the units are providing the same results across the board. We wanted to make sure that we didn't put a bunch of them out there and in 90 days or 120 days, you start getting them all back because people weren't getting the experience that they thought they were going to get. And so today, over the last 2 years, we've had a 4% return. So we've had about 25 returns in 2 years. And those are a variety of reasons. But you know what? We're 4% and we went through 2 different generations of product, right? And so this one here is stagnant. So we got some returns because they don't know what to do with it afterwards. And I think that, they're probably feeling pretty good today, but it became paperweight because there's nothing for them to use it. But this one, we get very few returns with this one here. And that's because there's other things that it can be used for. And there will be a future program that this device is going to help in lots of different ways, particularly around wellness.
So let's talk then. What is your vision for the technology going forward? How do you see it continuing to evolve and better supporting people dealing with Lyme disease? What's next for FREmedica and for the WAVE1 device?
Okay, so we have about 60 devices in stock. And those are going very quickly. Those particular 60 devices still carry our 90-day money-back guarantee. And so those are really no risk for people. But there is a program that we will be launching in the new year, and that we'll be talking a little bit more in detail, that I'm not going to get into all the detail, but it's going to be very advantageous for you to have this device and see clearly the types of programs that you're going to want to run in the future. So everybody that gets the device today is still going to have that program, but it may just come to them in a little bit of a different format because they've already done the stress and anxiety. They've already done the detox. There's things that they've already ran. And so when they want to have a program for sleep, for example, well, they might take that package, but they're going to have to run that for 30 days. Whatever you choose, we're going to make you use it for 30 days because we know the outcome is going to be the best for you. And so that's the reason. So in the future, this might get a little smaller as technology gets better, batteries get better. But I don't think that the approach is going to be any different. You're going to maybe have an app off your phone to run these devices versus on your computer. Or you may just have both options. But we're making it a little bit easy and a little bit more diversified for people because they're not going to have to deal with the Lyme. People with Lyme disease, the protocol stays the same as they launch into it.
Tell us a little about why the work that you do with FREmedica is personally important to you, and what is it that continues to drive you in doing this work?
I've never been in a business that helps people overcome a disease that is just taking them right out. And when it's your kids, my goodness, I never felt so helpless with my daughter and my grandsons. Like it was a very difficult time watching them struggle and have no means to help them. And it doesn't matter how much money you have, go spend it. Look at Yolanda, how much money that she spent trying things and remained sick. She had glimpses of feeling better, but that's just because she's putting things to sleep and then they eventually wake up. And I think that for me, I know that it makes change. I know that you can get your daughter's life back. And it's just we bring a story of hope to people. And I had no hope with my daughter. My daughter was losing hope because we just couldn't find anything that was actually overcoming her symptoms.
I know that you, from our personal conversations, that you work with a number of different charitable organizations. Tell us about some of the work that you do in helping others through those organizations.
Well, we have a charity, and we call it Funding for Life. And so we went to the Canadian government, and they allowed us to have a charity that will help people with any kind of health issues that the Canadian government is not paying for through our healthcare. It doesn't matter if it's buying a device like this, a wheelchair, medication. It doesn't matter. If the government's not paying for it, we're allowed to raise money to pay for it. And that's a little bit of an issue because you know what? The world's pretty sick. It doesn't have to be related to Lyme. I mean, there's a lot of things that are just going on from a health perspective. And so that charity is getting more focused on Lyme disease at the moment because if you open it up to everything, as we get inundated by a need that you just can't fill. You can't help a big need like that, but we can be more specific. and help people with Lyme disease. And so that's one of the approaches that we're doing.
Talk to us a little bit about what are some of the key things that you do on a daily basis in support of your own health. Can be frequency, can be something else.
Well, I'm probably not a good guy for that. I'm not very disciplined for taking, whether it be supplements or vitamins, or I do an infrared sauna. It's just this little tent. In fact, I got it from one of the shows that I attended that you put on, and it is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I know exactly which device you're talking about.
And so that's one that I do twice a day.
Yep.
And I think that it really helps me get rid of a lot of stuff in my body as far as detoxing. But primarily, I wear this device. I'm fortunate because I get to pick a few different frequencies that's coming. But right now, our business is focused on Lyme disease, but I'm not. I'm focused on, okay, what other kind of packages can we build that are going to produce results? In fact, I just started using a magnesium because I shake. I'll bounce my legs and Stuart will come up to me, he says, you need magnesium. But I never take the supplements. So we put a magnesium frequency on, and I very seldom find myself bouncing with my knees. And so I live in the frequency world. I believe in the frequencies. I didn't know anything about frequencies prior to getting involved with Stuart in this world. I had a little bit of experience with neurofeedback because that's just frequency tones that you're taking in through sounds. And that was my only experience, but it was a good experience. But with what we're doing today, I totally believe in frequencies being able to help in many different ways. And don't sell them short.
I definitely agree with that. I mean, for a long time, I felt that in the realm of chronic Lyme disease, that frequency, light, sound, vibration, and even extending beyond chronic Lyme, so many of the health challenges that we deal with in our modern society, I think this is the direction that medicine ultimately will move in, is kind of in the frequency realm. And so I definitely agree with your thoughts there. Any other comments that you want to make? Anything about the WAVE1, anything in this discussion that we didn't really touch on that you want to wrap us up with?
Well, I think that I would encourage anybody that uses the device, if you don't feel that you're getting all of your health needs looked after, it's because you're not with this device. But we're dealing with the issues that are blocking you from getting those other issues dealt with. And so I think that you need to stick it out. You need to push through some of the Herxing. I mean, and I know that I can say this, I'm not a doctor, and I know that doctors have a hard time telling you to just push through, but I see what happens when you do. If you sit down with Yolanda, with her kids, she tells them the same thing because they started Herxing. And so you just got to push through, because if you don't use the device consistently, we're not going to be able to help you the way that we talk. And so...
Yeah, and I think one of the nice things now, like we talked about, that having the ability to kind of dial it back a bit, I think gives people more flexibility in being able to use it for 30 minutes or longer, to do it now, actually longer than 30 minutes when you're doing detox first. And then let's say Lyme Basic, you're using it longer than 30 minutes in the period of a day. And having that ability then I think makes it more tolerable for people. I personally would just say to people, if they really are struggling, to reach out to the team at FREmedica, talk to the people there, talk to your doctor. I definitely don't want to encourage people that are having a significant struggle with the device to just push through, but certainly work with your practitioner and reach out if that is the case.
Well, you know, if you use the device at the lowest setting, it's not that it's not, and you use it consistently for the time periods that you need to use it, you're going to get better. It's just that it's going to take longer. And so it puts you into 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. But you know what? At the end of the day, who cares? If you get better in 6 months versus 90 days or 12 months versus 6 months, who cares? You're getting better. If you can tolerate it, you're going to get better faster. If you can't tolerate it, don't be discouraged. Just walk it all out. You will lose the 90-day money-back guarantee if you go past that. And people need to not worry about that. And we're working on some things in the future that will even make that less. We don't want that to be the driver. Don't use it for 90 days and you're expecting that miracle in 90 days so you can decide whether to spend the $2,500 or not, or to return the device. You need to get out of that mindset. You will get better. A lot of the things that you're dealing with, you will overcome. It's not going to overcome everything because everything isn't related to Lyme disease.
Right, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Stephen, for being here today. Pardon the pun, but this has been an enlightening conversation. And so I appreciate your time. I've enjoyed the opportunity to collaborate and communicate with your team. I'm, again, excited about light, frequency, vibration, sound, the things that can be done to support people dealing with these kinds of conditions. And I'm really looking forward personally as well to continuing to see the evolution of the technology that you've made available. So thank you so much for being here today.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. To learn more about today's guest, visit FREmedica.com. That's free, FREmedica, MEDICA.com. FREmedica.com. Thanks for your interest in today's show. If you'd like to follow me on Facebook or Twitter, you can find me there as Better Health Guy. To support the show, please visit betterhealthguy.com/donate. If you'd like to be added to my newsletter, visit betterhealthguy.com/newsletters. And this and other shows can be found on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify.
Thanks for listening to this Better Health Guy blogcast with Scott, your Better Health Guy. To check out additional shows and learn more about Scott's personal journey to better health, please visit betterhealthguy.com.